Hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be the World Cup top 8 between France and Greece. So, on the Greece side, we have Akis Scorpion King playing his questionable Scorpion deck. That's not me calling it questionable, it's the name of the deck. Uh, he's playing the Killy type of Scorp. He has one Noble Sacrifice. Oh, actually, he plays above question. That's interesting. This might be a bit more aggressive Scorp than I'm used to. He has a few interesting choices in here, in my opinion. I'm not sure. I think Armor is completely worth it. Uh, he runs Awai. I don't know if this is a good character or not. I haven't played Scorpion enough lately. Should be interesting. Only 5 conflict character, 2 collectors, 1 Kachiko, 2 cunning magistrates. And on the Phoenix side, we have pretty standard, except we see a Tsunami, which is not usually the 5 cost choice for Phoenix. I guess this might be in preparation of the rumored um, restricted list to remove Tadaka and just play a Tsunami instead. I don't know. Oh, actually, he does have Tadaka still. Whoops, never mind. Ignore that. And at this point, the restricted list is just complete rumors anyway. We don't know what it's going to look like, except we do know Fist or Famine is going to go up there. Alright. I'm good to go. And we shall begin. I'm just gonna spam in the Discord quickly. And close that. And let's go full screen. And let's increase the size a little bit so that you guys can see what's going on. Cool. So, the game is up. They both have chess clocks, that's good. And we have a Scorpion versus Phoenix matchup. Fantastic. I'm quickly gonna put up the chat on my phone so I can see if anyone is actually trying to say something of importance to me. Alright. We do see Scorpion King mulliganing 2 cards from the Dynasty deck, and we see 2 mulligans from the Phoenix player, and then a single mulligan from the Conflict deck. Means the Phoenix player probably has a pretty good starting Conflict hand at least. It's going to be an interesting game. Alright, this is a pretty darn aggro opening from the Scorpion. I imagine we're going to see probably Ignoble Enforcers and Alibi Artist out the first turn, because that should... you're actually 1 honor short. You're 1 honor short of triggering Alibi Artist. We might not see that play then. We might just see only Ignoble Enforcers. Which is a pretty good card for Scorpion early on. It's basically a 2 cost 4/4, except you always have to put 3 fate on it, in a sense. And we do see a naive student from the Phoenix player. I'm just gonna move this a little bit. Actually gonna put this over here, just because we can see the nice big pictures of the cards. So we do actually see the Alibi Artist get played as well, just to have a cancel opportunity, I think, because he can't trigger Alibi Artist right now. And in response to this, we do see a Solemn Scholar get played from the Phoenix player. Always a good card, I think this is. Oh, and we do see the Scorpion player pass first and gain an extra fate, and then we see Asako Suki played with an extra fate. And both players just slam the 5 bid, so the game is on. And first conflict opportunity will go to the Scorpion player. So both players are on Seeker of Air, so a lot of economy in this game. Seeker of Air Phoenix and Seeker of Air Scorpion. Alright. Do you hold back here as the Scorpion? Or do you just go and try and push conflicts with Ignoble Enforcers? What is actually the worst possible province you can hit? I'm gonna have a quick look at... Oh, you actually go in with the Alibi Artist, and it's Meditation on the Tau. Wow, that's a really good province to hit here with the Alibi Artist. And we do see a defense from the the Naive Student come in to defend. I imagine we might even see if the Scorpion thinks he can get away with it, he might just not defend one of the Phoenix conflicts to lose 1 honor due to unopposed, so he can trigger Alibi Artist this turn and then box up back to 7. That would be an interesting turn for sure. Alright, we see a court games come out from the Phoenix player. During a political conflict, select one, choose an honor participating character you control, or your opponent chooses a dishonor participating character he or she controls. So he chooses his own character and honors it. So this Naive Student goes from a 2 political to a 4 political due to its 2 glory. And in response, we see a court games from the Scorpion player, which forces the Naive Student to get dishonored back to a normal status again. So it's 2-2, and the Scorpion player is currently winning. And in response to this, a Supernatural Storm gets played. So choose a participating character. That character gets plus X military and plus X political until the end of the conflict. Here X is equal to the number of Shigenya character you control. So we have a Solemn Scholar, that's a Shigenya, and a Asako Suki, that's a Shigenya. So this Naive Student now has 4 political. It's also a spell, so it can be used with a Stronghold, the Kyuden Isawa. During a conflict, bow the Stronghold, play a spell event from your conflict discard pile as if it were in your hand. Remove that event from the game. So let's see if he's actually going to use the Stronghold here, because the Scorpion player plays Way of the Scorpion, basically forcing the Naive Student to become dishonored. So he now has -2 in all of his skills because his glory is 2. So it's back down to 2 total versus 2 total in this conflict. And the Phoenix player chooses not to spend any more cards, and the Scorpion player resolves the firing and dishonors Asako Suki. Now it's the Phoenix player's turn to attack. If he hits something like Upholding Authority here, I think you for sure just let this one go. Intriguing though. This is the Earth Ring, so that makes it a bit more tricky. You pretty much have to defend now. Alright, so it is an attack on Shameful Display, and Shameful Display says during a conflict at this province, choose 2 participating characters, honor 1 and dishonor the other. So the Ignoble Enforcers defends, gets honored, and the Solemn Scholar gets dishonored. What we're probably going to see now is Asako Suki attack militarily on this province, and we're probably going to see Supernatural Storm and maybe even a Banzai come out from the Phoenix player to try and break this Shameful Display, because as we know from the deck list that we got to look at, the Scorpion player plays very few conflict characters. Very few indeed, 5 only. And 2 of them are too expensive, so he only has he runs 2 Cunning Magistrates and 1 Bayuchi Kachiko. The Cunning Magistrates cost 3 and Kachiko cost 5, so he can't play any of those. So the only thing he can drop in to defend there is the Collector, and I don't think he wants to do that. The Collector costs 2. I don't think it's worth it for him in this situation. I think we're simply going to see a bunch of cards get spent here, and we have to remember that Scorpion player must remember to use box before this turn is over. Oh, and we don't even see Supernatural Storm or Banzai get play. We see a Feral Ningyu dropped in the conflict. So during a water conflict, put this character into play from your hand. It is a free pump, and we do see it break Shameful Display. And this is a very good opening for the Phoenix player. So the Feral Ningyu gets shuffled back into his deck. He gets to stand Naive Student. He gets to re-honor the Naive Student because of Suki's reaction, which says after you claim the alright, so after the watering is claimed, choose a scholar character, honor that character, so Naive Student gets re-honored. I don't know when... Huh. Alright, so above question actually gets played on the opponent's character to prevent it from being buffed by events, which is a pretty cool thing to do. Basically, above question says, attached character cannot be chosen as targets of opponent's event. But since the Scorpion player played that, that means all the events that buff this character is no longer eligible to be played. It's a very interesting thing to do. Alright, and we do see, before it happens, so 1 honor was lost from unopposed, and we do see the Alibi Artist trigger, and a card getting chosen, and then we see the City of the Open Hand getting used. And oh boy, how ballsy is the Scorpion? Will we see Ignoble Enforcers played again and bring him down to 4 honor? I don't know. That's an interesting thing to do here. A bit scary. That means a 5-bid actually loses you the game. That is indeed a bit scary. We will see what the... Oh, we do see a Shouju played instead. It's the safer route. It allows you to slam the 5-bid for 1 more turn and not have to worry about anything. I imagine if he had Duty in hand, he probably would have played the Ignoble Enforcers instead. This to me sort of signifies that the Scorpion player hasn't drawn Duty yet. Because once you draw Duty, you're not really worried about getting dishonored anymore. So both players bid 5, and we all have already seen the Scorpion box used, so the Scorpion Stronghold, for those that has never heard the term box before. For those that doesn't know, the reason why the Stronghold is usually called box by the community is because in the old Legend of the Five Rings game, the strongholds were literally printed on the boxes which the cards came in, like the starter boxes with the cards. The strongholds were literally printed on that box. That's why people call it box still. Anyhow, we shall continue. It is now the Phoenix player that is the first player and has the first conflict. I imagine we're going to see another water conflict since he selects Sakusuki. Maybe not. We shall see what the Phoenix player decides to do. It is a water ring. This might be a military water ring. That seems reasonable to avoid getting murdered by Bayushi Shouju. Bayushi Shouju is basically a political monster. Not only does he have 7 political, he also can, during political conflicts, choose a participating character. and give that character -1 political. And if that character reaches 0 political skill, it is immediately destroyed. Uh, it is also possible to use that action twice per round, so he can give a -2, and then if it reaches 0, he kills it, which is a really strong ability. Potentially. Alright, so we see Manicured Guardians flipped, and the Scorpion player gains a bunch of extra fate and defense with the Ignoble Enforcers. And we do see a Benton's Touch getting played by YodaSensei, the Phoenix player, which means this Prodigy of the Waves is probably about to get honored. I think the Scorpion player is contemplating cancelling this event. But he chooses not to. So we do have 5-5, and we do see a fine katana get attached to the Ignoble Enforcer. So now we have a 7-5, and we see a second Feral Ningyo. And now we have 8-7. Lovely, lovely. So currently the Phoenix player is winning this conflict, and in response to this we see a Banzai played from the Scorpion player, and he uses Banzai's ability twice. So first time you use it, he gets +2 military, and then you can choose to lose 1 honor to give another +2. So, oh, another Feral Ningyo. We now have 11-11, and the Phoenix player is still winning this conflict. Ooh. Turns out 3 dudes that provides +3 military is good. It's really good. It appears that the Scorpion player is ready to give up this conflict. Now the question is, does the Phoenix player wish to push this further? He does. He tries to go for the break here, attaches a fine katana. So he is now 13-11. This signifies he has another buff somewhere, because otherwise he's just happy to take the win here. Now he's trying to push for the break. He needs to be up by 4 because the province strength is 4 for this province. So he needs to reach 15 to the Scorpion's 11. Will that happen? And he chooses to do this by playing Let Go on the Fine Katana on the Ignoble Enforcers. So now it's 13-9 instead of, 15-11. He basically, instead of bumping himself by 2, he removed 2 from the Scorpion player side. And in response to this, we see a calling in favors. So, dishonor a friendly character, choose an opponent's attachment, take control of that attachment, and attach it to that character if able, otherwise discard the attachment. So, this Ignoble Enforcers loses its honored status and steals the fine katana from the Prodigy of the Waves. And now the Phoenix player says, okay, I wasted enough on this. Let's just take the win. So he chooses to take the win and triggers the Water Ring. He re-honors Suki, stands Suki, and now is the Scorpion player's turn to make a conflict. Alright, the Scorpion player chooses to not make a conflict at this point. And in response to this, the Phoenix player chooses to ready the Prodigy of the Waves, and I imagine we might see a big political attack coming in. Of course, you have to be very careful about Shouju, because Shouju giving -1 political here and then playing a Mark of Shame And that's bye bye Prodigy of the Waves. That's a lot of investment gone. Massive investment gone, in fact. That would be unfortunate, let's just say. Alright, so we see another attack on Manicured Gardens. Do we see Bayoshi Choju defend this? I imagine we will. The big question here is, will the Scorpion player be able to kill the Prodigy of the Waves? That would be a huge swing in favor of the Scorpion player. This would mean the Scorpion player would have a pretty massive board next turn, and the Phoenix player would have nothing. Alright, so first action, Bayoshi Choju reduces the skill of the Prodigy of the Waves. There has to be a buff coming in of some sort on this Prodigy of the Waves, otherwise a single mark of shame will kill it. That is too late, because Shouju has already used his ability. So, a Cloud of Mind gets played on Shouju. And now the printed tech boss is considered blank. Oh, okay. So, we don't have the Mark of Shame for the Scorpion player. Otherwise, this will get played instantly, and this will be killed. So, we do see a quick succession of events here. Double fan on the Prodigy Waves, and a single fan on Shouju. So currently the Phoenix player is winning this conflict, which should be feeling pretty... Oh, and a second fan on Shouju. He is adamant to defend this conflict. Intriguing. There's always the option to use the Stronghold and use this Supernatural Storm, and I think that's what we're going to see. Supernatural Storm gets played from the discard. And, oh, but a Forged Edict gets played, so you basically receive the same... Oh, okay, so that's explaining it. So, he dishonored Shouju to cancel the Supernatural Storm. So, Shouju lost 2 skill because he got dishonored, but then he played Soul Beyond Reproach, which double honors Shouju up to a winning position. Alright, the Scorpion player does not do a second conflict and has a decent board for next turn. Unfortunately, he did not manage to kill off the Prodigy of the Waves, but you can't have everything, I guess. The problem is the Scorpion player is sort of looking for a slightly more aggressive approach here, trying to have a board and breaking stuff from the looks of it, and he is currently behind 1 province. So we'll see how this works out for him. Alright, let's see what each player keeps here. We do see the Asako Tsunami kept. Alright, and both the Ignoble Enforcers are gone, and the Young Rumonger are gone for the Scorpion player. Perhaps he's searching for something special. The Soshi Illusionist would be pretty good here. And of course, it's the first thing that gets played. This character, of course, can pay 1 fate to remove a status token from a character. So he can just remove this honored status token from Prodigy of the Waves. Sounds pretty good to me. And the response from the Phoenix player is to play Asako Tsunami, the Elemental Master of Water, which basically supercharges the Water Ring, allows you to do much more with it. Do we see the Sinister Soshi played from the Scorpion player? No. He is confident enough to just pass for the Fate. So he has a decent Fate pool here, 6-2. I imagine this is probably the turn we're going to see some Fate Worse Than Death. And both players bid 5, because why would you not? Alright, so Scorpion player has first conflict. Let's see what interesting things that will happen. Okay. Um, both players don't really do much in the draw phase. They're basically just thinking a bit about how they wanted the turn to play out. And now we get to see the Scorpion player make the first conflict. I imagine we might see the airing. Two fate is pretty easy. Of course, the Earthring and Firing are also pretty good in this situation. One fate on those. Pretty good rings. Yeah. Fact. Firing might be extremely tasty here. I imagine that's probably what we're going to see. The question is, do you go for the province that's already revealed and basically kill one of your characters? I mean, not right away, but at the end of the turn, that character you attack on meditations will go away. Or do you go for any of the other provinces? In fact, we're gonna have a quick peek on the Phoenix player's lists. Does he run Shameful? Yes, he does run Shameful. And he hits Shameful. Oh, that has to feel pretty poor for the Phoenix player. Welcome to the stream, Asterin. I think there's another game going on as well. That might be over now, I don't know. But welcome. And we do see the Asako Tsunami defend. So we're gonna see Bayoshi Shouju get dishonored and Asako Tsunami get honored. And Shouju is still affected by Cloud of Mind, so he can't use his ability. So the probability of killing this Tsunami is pretty low. Huh, interesting. Do we only see a defense from the Adept of the Waves? I don't think that's enough. I really don't think that's enough. Shameful Display is a province that you really want to defend as Phoenix. It's what allows you to have such big characters because you have such huge pools of glory. Alright, so Shameful Display gets used. Adept of the Waves is now a 4-4 and Bayoshi Shouju is no longer a 5-13 but merely a 3-11. Ooh. Massive hit. I'm a bit sarcastic here. So he is still, the Scorpion player is still winning and still breaking, which I think he's perfectly fine with. So Prodigy of the Waves gets to use his ability to give covert to this character. Interesting. So he's going to go for the Water Ring next. And we do see Scorpion play passing again. He is still breaking Shameful. Oh, and he broke Shameful Display with a very weak token defense only coming in from the Phoenix player. I'm surprised. I'm honestly a bit surprised. Alright, so now we're going to see a Water Ring conflict, I guess. It does make some sense because now you're going to have you convert the Enforcer, you go in, and if you win the Water Ring, you actually bow out the Enforcer with the ability from Tsunami, which is actually pretty cool. But I imagine we're going to see fate worse than death here, like probably Illusionist is going to remove the honored status, and then a Fate Worse Than Death gets played, and then he has a really big trouble to initiate his second type conflict, and he has to play a bunch of cards to still win this, because Asunami is like, yeah, alright, now no, we actually see a Mark of Shame gets played instantly. So this is a military conflict, so we currently have 2 military against 1. So those that don't know it, Mark of Shame is after you play this attachment, dishonor attached character, then dishonor it again. So this Prodigy of the Waves went from a let's see, a 5/9 to a 1/3. No, 1/4. Which is a pretty big swing. And okay, we do see Kyuden Sava used, so we see a Benton's touched, so Ahsoka Asunami is bowed in order to re-honor the Prodigy of the Waves. Is this going to be let through, I wonder? If it is, I have a feeling that this is going to get hit by Fate Worse Than Death. No, Forged Edict comes out, dishonoring by Bayushi Shouju, cancelling the effect of Benton's touch. That's a pretty good trade though still for the Phoenix player. Right, and here's also a very interesting thing to notice during like all Scorpion games. So the Phoenix player has 9 cards in hand, 2 cards in the discard, and the Scorpion player has 9 cards in discard and 7 cards in hand. So like, there's a lot more cards getting played from the Scorpion player side while still sort of being even on cards. It's always interesting how effective they can make their cards. Alright, and we do see a couple of things happen. So a Shrine Maiden is played and triggered, so he sees Supernatural Storm, Assassination, and Banzai. So he picks up Supernatural Storm because he can only pick up spells, and Assassination and Banzai gets discarded. And now we see Supernatural Storm gets played, so it provides +3 to Prodigy of the Waves. So he's currently winning by 5-3. It is a strange Scorpion deck. It really is. It's a very interesting Scorpion deck. It's pretty aggressive in my opinion. Like a lot of very few conflict characters, a lot of attachments. If you haven't seen the Scorpion deck, I can show it really quickly. So here's how it looks. So he runs like a few of the standard things, but he has Aramoro in here, which I think most Scorpion players are sort of like on right now. And he does run a bunch of attachments, 2 above question that he usually plays on opponent characters, which is interesting. 1 Noble Sacrifice, and then, you know, a lot of the Scorpion stuff as usual. So it's nothing really super strange about the list, but it's a bit more aggressive, allows for a bit more of pumps and stuff. And we do see a Cloud of Mine instantly played on the Cunning Magistrate, so the Phoenix player is actually still winning. Cunning Magistrate, unless it's Cloud Minded, obviously blanks the skill of all dishonored characters in the conflict, which means this Prodigy of the Waves will not be a 4 military skill character, it would be a 0 military skill character if this Cloud of Mind wasn't played. Cloud of Mind is a really good card, it turns out, especially for the clans that can play it. There's basically only 2 clans that can't really play Cloud of Mind right now. That's Lion and Crane. Crab has issues playing it. Like, Crab really has issues playing it, but they can usually make it work. It's pretty much only Crane and Lion that has to weaken their deck in other areas enough to play Cloud of Mine that it's not really worth it. Alright, so we see a couple of things happening. So the Cloud of Mine gets stolen onto Ignoble Enforcers. which is fine because that ability is no longer relevant. This means the Cunning Magistrate is currently blanking this Prodigy of the Waves down to 0 military skill. And then we see a Fine Katana played on the Shrine Maiden and a Let Go played to remove the Katana from the Socialist. Now it's 3-3 skill, which means that YodaSensei, the Phoenix player, is still winning this conflict, which means he can actually ready a character and bow out this Ignoble Enforcer because of a tsunami. Alright, and the Scorpion player has to admit defeat here. Not the card, but, you know, actually say, okay, I can't win this anymore. So, a tsunami bows out the Ignoble Enforcers and readies up the Adept of the Waves. The Scorpion player has 0 fate, which means this Adept of the Waves is going to go in on Manicured Gardens and just break it for free. There is a couple of outs actually. The Scorpion player could have Way of the Scorpion. The Scorpion player could have Court Games. Both of those should be somewhat enough to prevent this. But of course I forgot, Prodigy of the Waves can ready because the Watering is claimed by a player. So, I guess these two are going to go in on Manicured Gardens and break it. Do they go for Manicured Gardens or do they try and find something else? What one-cost events are you afraid of? Like, could flip the Sacred Cache. Worst case scenario, I guess you run into like an Assassinate and this is still enough to break. No, it's actually, yeah, it's still enough to break. So, interesting. Only the Prodigy of the Waves attacks. I'm guessing he really wants to have Adept of the Waves standing for favor and to keep the honor status on it so that it can bump his honor up by 1. No, he brings both. He wants to make sure this breaks. No funny business. Okay. 9 political. No defense from the Scorpion player. Scorpion player passes. This Manicured Garden is going to break. And that's it. Now it's 2 breaks to 1. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game. Still have Cunning Magistrate online for the Scorpion player, so the entire Scorpion player's board is going to die next turn. While the Phoenix player has at least 1 character alive after next turn, unless Fate Worse Than Death, unless Void Ring. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So currently the Scorpion is head on board, but that will change after this turn. And the Phoenix player has to, I guess, sort of like try and get out of this turn okay. And then the turn after that, he should be in a decent-ish position. Oh, Hidden Moon Dojo flips on one of the unbroken provinces. Ouch. We might see Sinus's Soshi played here from the Scorpion player if he's like a bit greedy. Otherwise he just pass for the Passing Fate and then he plays these two during the conflicts because Hidden Moon Dojo is such a strong card. Yeah, Scorpion instant passes. Oh, and but we did see a duplicate Asako Asunami from the Phoenix player, which means this Asunami is probably safe for another turn. Like, it will stick around for 1 more turn. That could be a pretty big impact. And we also see 3 Fate on the Air Ring and 2 Fate on the Earth Ring, which might be very important going forward. Ah, Solemn Scholar gets played. So I think the first conflict here from the Phoenix player is probably going to be a poke. Maybe political, maybe militarily. Yeah, probably military poke with the Solemn Scholar for Earthring. Both players still bid 5, because that's just how L5R gets played in this situation. So no honor changing hands via bids. We have 8 honor to 7 honor. Pretty standard. Right. Soshi AY. AY. Whatever. So. Alright, so it does actually provide a small buff as well. Okay, it's not a bad character. It's a pretty decent character. I just haven't seen much of AY played. And the Phoenix player is first. Do we see an attack anywhere? You're gonna be pretty happy about this Hinamune Dojo. Pretty happy about it. If this is on a good province. Oh, I missed that. So, a Tattooed Wanderer gets played on Asakawa Tsunami, which means he has convert, so he can convert this Ignoble Enforcer, and he's going to go, I guess, then for a military conflict on to Hidden Moon Dojo province, and it's upholding authority. That's somewhat rough. If it breaks, the Scorpion player gets to look at the Phoenix player's hand and choose a card by name, and discard all copies of that card. So that could be somewhat disastrous, but he has to break first, and if he breaks, he's actually has broken 3 provinces, so he can go on the Stronghold next. So yeah. Oh, and we also didn't see a Earth Ring conflict, we see a Water Ring conflict, which is there's a lot of fate on these 2 rings now. A lot of fate. I would have been more greedy. I would have probably gone Earth here. But I probably would have poked it, actually. I would have poked Earth militarily, probably. If that was me. Ah. Alright, he wants to break. Here we go. Ferraningyo comes into play. So, Commentated gets played. So these 2 players, these 2 characters are now providing 0 skill. And then we see Sinister Soshi played from the province with the help of Hidden Moon Dojo. I imagine the Sinister Soshi is going to lower the skill of the Feral Ningyo. Or we might see a Wave the Scorpion or whatever to completely remove the skill from that Ningyu. Alright, so Hidden Moon Dojo reveals another card and its favorable grounds. So he can move in or move out characters as he wish from this conflict. He might even move in the Ignoble Enforcer here just to guarantee a win. Maybe. It's an interesting situation for sure. And we do see a Banzai from the Scorpion player, so he's going to be up on military skill by 2. We do know the Phoenix player has does he have a Supernatural Storm still in hand, or has it been played? I can't remember. But he can play at least 1 Supernatural Storm from the discard. That would be plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So currently the Scorpion player is winning the conflict. It's 6-4 because of the Banzai. Banzai provides plus 2 military skill, and if you choose to lose an honor, it provides another plus 2. So it's on the Phoenix player to play stuff here. So he plays a Fine Katana on the Ferraningyu, so it's now 66. I imagine we're going to see the Sinister Soshi just lower the scale of this Ningyu because of this. or maybe even a I don't know, Wave the Scorpion or something to completely remove the skill from that character because of the cutting magistrate. There's a lot of options here for the Scorpion player. I think the Scorpion player is probably pretty comfortable at this point. Yeah, the Sinus Associate gives -2/-2 to the Ferraningio. The Scorpion player is currently winning the conflict again. It's up to the Phoenix player to provide a response here. The trick here is to not give the Scorpion player too much value. Oh, and we do see a Banzai on the Ferraningio. And let's see if the... No, actually, the Scorpion player can't cancel it. So it's a double Banzai on the Ningyo. So currently he is 8-6 and winning the conflict once again. Now would be like a soul-crushing thing here to play just Wave the Scorpion to dishonor this Ferraningio. That would be a pretty sweet move by the Scorpion player. Alright, the amount of thinking going on by the Scorpion player here suggests that he doesn't actually have that card. Which gotta feel pretty good for the Phoenix player at this situation. Otherwise he would have wasted a bunch of cards that just get, oh, a single card removes all the things you did. How fun. This actually puts the Scorpion player in a bit of a bind here. Maybe he's thinking very seriously here if he wants to blank this Ningyo right now, or if he wants to try and bait, for instance, another Supernatural Storm out. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. We see a Soul Beyond Reproach double honor this Ignoble Enforcers, going from dishonor to honor, and then I imagine it's going to get moved in to defend this conflict. Yep, favorable Guardian Sacrifice, Ignoble Enforcers is now in the conflict. It's now 8-13. Whew, that's a big swing. Now it's going to take a lot from the Phoenix. Yeah, the Phoenix player passes. And we do see a Cloudy Mind gets played from the Scorpion player now, so this Prodigy of the Waves can't ready again. The normal ability of Prodigy of the Waves, of course, is while the Watering is claimed by any player, ready this character. So with the Cloud of Mind, this means the Prodigy of Waves is not going to stand up and come back again. That is a rough strike towards the Phoenix player, who was probably counting on that for the rest of this round. Okay, so Scorpion player wins, and the Ferraningio goes back to the deck somewhere. I imagine he's probably going to be finding Ningyos all the time now if the 5-bit continues, because there's still 3 Ningyos in his deck. You're just gonna be pulling them over and over again because they always get shuffled in. Alright, let's see. Do the Scorpion... Yeah, I think the Scorpion player would just go with Shoju onto Meditations of the Tau. Maybe for an Earth Ring? Earth Ring is pretty good in this situation. I think that's what I do. Oh! Let's see. Against the Waves to bow the Soci Illusionist. That is a bit rough for the Scorpion player, simply because this can be replayed again once the Scorpion player does a conflict and ready something big, which can then go in and break Upholding Authority. Not great. And then again, you don't really want to pass your conflict opportunity here. You can go for a break, and you can like go for like Earthring or something to just keep some sort of like hand control at this situation. But it's a bit rough. It's a bit rough here, because if you go for Meditation of the Tau, I imagine the Phoenix player are simply like not going to defend, use the first action to replay against the waves and ready Project of the Waves that is still very big, and then go in with everything and break upholding authority. That would be I think that's premature. I think it's definitely premature to play a second against the waves here to ready the Prodigy of the Waves. You could definitely wait until the Scorpion player either passes his conflict or goes in and does his conflict. So you can replay the one from the discard instead. Of course, yeah, and we see here the Scorpion is going to attack. And it's going to be air. I just let this go. I'll probably just let this go and then attack with everything in on upholding authority, get rid of that Hidden Moon Dojo. And I'll do it with the... No. I disagree slightly with the Phoenix line of play here. I think you just let this one go, and then you go all in on the upholding authority. You get the Earth Ring, because if he drops a conflict character to go for a second push, you just bow it with the Silent Scholar. The Phoenix player might be thinking the same, sort of like, oh no, he is going to defend. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by this at all. I think you need the Project of Waves to break anything here. Okay, token defense to not lose too much honor. Alright, I can see that. That seems fine. Yeah, this is a pretty good move. So we're gonna see both Suki and Project of Waves attack on upholding authority. I think that might be a break. I'm not sure. And then we're gonna see just hammering on the stronghold next turn on. Could of course see assassination on Suki. And then some more stuff to prevent the break here, but that's going to be pretty expensive for the Scorpion player. I also dislike the double against the waves here. Unless he's sure he's going to go into upholding authority and break it. I guess that's fine. Okay. Will the Phoenix player break? That's the big question here. If the Phoenix player breaks right now, I think it's in a pretty good spot. You gotta bring both here, yeah. I think he's in a pretty good spot if he breaks this, but if he don't break this, ooh, that's going to be pretty rough. Pretty rough. Alright, so there's no more Mark of Shame for the Scorpion, he only runs one. Fate Worse Than Death he can't afford. He can of course use Social Illusionist to remove and then like court games, I guess. But then that's still enough for the Project of the Waves to break. You could play Soshi Awai. That's expensive for the stat she gives. Does she choose another character? Alright, so he could play this and then give a courtier trait to herself. Not too awful, I guess. Alright, Scorpion player. Does he do anything? He can't defend. He has no characters to defend with, but he could start playing cards from hand, of course. First step could be to remove the honored status from Suki with the Social Illusionist. Then you can only afford to play a collector to actually defend with. I think this province might break. I think this might be a break. Alright, 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 so we're basically waiting here for the Scorpion player to decide which action to do first. The Scorpion player is really thinking about this. This sort of like suggests to me that he has some outs that he thinks might win this conflict, but those are either expensive or not like something he wants to use right now. It could also be that he simply doesn't see a way to stop this from breaking. Okay, that's the assassination. So he's still breaking. Now he can prevent the break by playing Soshi AY, whatever her name is. I'm sure someone will correct me at some point. It's still breaking, and the Phoenix player is happy with that, so the Phoenix player obviously passes. Will there be... Oh, a noble sacrifice. Yeah, that's an expensive way to prevent the break, but pretty good one. Do the Phoenix player have any conflict character at all here? Just to gain the Earth Ring? Yeah, Shrine Maiden. Clarity of Purpose, Court Games, Ornith Fan. Oh, it sucks to discard Court Games and Ornith Fan here, but otherwise pretty good. And then you play the Supernatural Storm, I guess, to actually be up to break again. And now I don't see any way for the Scorpion player to prevent this. No, that's not true. Collector can still be dropped to prevent this, but he will still lose the conflict. Alright, the break. Let's see what we get to discard. Wow, that was an expensive conflict for both players, actually. And now this interesting point. Do players actually bid 5 next turn? That could be really dangerous, because both are down to 5 honor. That means if one player decides to bid 1, the other player is down to a single honor. Oh, and we do see a display of power discarded. Huh. But we do see a Calling in Favors get randomly discarded for the Scorpion player, and the Phoenix player gets to draw 1 more card. Interesting. If the Phoenix player has enough, like if the Phoenix player dares to bid high and go for the Stronghold and like just drop a bunch of Ningyos, I think he can just win. Why would you waste against the waves here? Oh, because you want the favor still. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and the Tattooed Wanderer is still up, so he can actually convert this Cunning Magistrate. That is huge. That is actually huge. This means he could convert the Cunning Magistrate, just go water, all in on Stronghold, and just drop a bunch of Fear and Ningyos and probably win the game. Ooh. This is going to be a very interesting turn. A very interesting turn. It's going to come down pretty much to what... Oh, this is not exactly what you want to see here as the Scorpion player. On the other hand, this is not exactly what you want to see here as the Phoenix player. So both are a bit screwed. I also find it really interesting that it looks like the Scorpion player actually hasn't pulled a Fate Worse Than Death yet, or is really, really conservative with them. It is possible he's just super conservative. Yeah, I think if the Phoenix player has some guts here and bids like 4 and just hopes to find a bunch of Ningyos with the extra draw from Forgotten Library and then just knock on the Stronghold door. That could do it. Let's have a quick peek at the Scorpion players list and see if it's a what kind of stronghold it's likely to be. It is most likely Rally to the Cause. I think that's fine. I think you can probably break it anyway. This game is now passing the 1 hour mark. In a real tournament, time will be called in 5 minutes. Just for reference. Alright, Forgotten Library. And we see a 2 bid from Yoda and a 1 bid from Scorpion. Alright, so yeah. The Scorpion player is trying to dishonor out the Phoenix player, probably by this turn. So if he goes for the Void Ring, he can. That's -1 honor. If he Fate Worse Than Death, that's -1 honor next turn. And then an unopposed like air. Yeah, okay. So probably what's going to happen is the Scorpion player is going to push, and it's going to be first conflict is probably going to be Void or air, and then Prodigy of the Waves is going to hit by Fate Worse Than Death, and then if the Scorpion player can, he will probably try to get a airing after that, preferably unopposed. We'll see. Scorpion is in a decent position. The Phoenix player is not in a bad position either. We just see who has the best cards left in hand, basically. That's all it's going to come down to. Also a bit how bold the Phoenix player is. Like, you can't not defend this. Yeah, there you go. You go for the Void Ring here to remove a Tsunami. And if you don't defend, you're actually down to 2 honor. That is scary. And if you don't defend also, this is going to remove the Fate from here. So if you don't win this turn, you're down to 1 honor. That is scary. That is really scary, especially against Scorpion. This is a difficult turn for the Phoenix player. Really rough turn. I imagine the Scorpion player is feeling somewhat comfortable in this situation. And we do see defense here from the Phoenix player. Probably not exactly what he wanted to do. First action is Clarity of Purpose. Alright, so he gets to not bow at least, which is pretty good. And then he gets to draw a card from Fertile Fields. That's also pretty good. And Rudy wins, so he is going to remove this. So, the Phoenix player is going to be down to 2 honor after this turn. And we see a second Tattooed Wanderer, so double convert. He is going to try and break. He's going to go for the break here. I think you convert both the Cunning Magistrate and the Soshi AY, whatever. And you really try hard. You probably go for the Water Ring. I mean, if you're scared about getting dishonored, you go for air, but water here is definitely what you go for the win. Alright, so water. He thinks he can win. It is going to take Ningyos, I think, to win this. A couple of Ningyos. Alright. I imagine Manipulator will defend. And this will get switched to Political. I think. That's probably the easiest way to... That's less skill from the Ningyos. That's a chance to play court games, which I think the Phoenix player okay, could have one. The Phoenix player could have one. I think the first action you should do is probably a Fate Worse than Death this though. Like that's a good thing to just do here, if you can. Expensive, yes, but I think it's worth it. If you do have it. If you have it, you have Fate Worse than Death. Right now. Okay. We are for shaming first. Interesting. Is that the first for shame that has been played? Yes, it is. And we see a Ningyo. A feral Ningyo gets put into play. Does he have more of them? He's currently not breaking. He's winning but not breaking. More stuff has to be done. Yeah, I'd probably still Fate Worse than Death if I have it. Ooh! Alright, now it's breaking. Is this it for the Scorpion player? Has Phoenix prevailed? Will the Ningyus rise up from the deep and destroy City of the Open Hand? Whew. Whoever said Ningyu wasn't a good card clearly didn't know what he was doing. Turns out 3 bodies are really, really strong. Alright, so we have the Scorpion. Gets played. So he's currently not breaking anymore. Which means a lot of investment has gone into this conflict. The reason this being with a Scorpion rather than a Fate Worse than Death just simply implies to me that he doesn't actually have Fate Worse than Death. I imagine we're going to see Against the Waves. Yeah, is that enough? Yeah, that's actually enough to break. If this goes through, it goes through. Alright, so he's back to breaking. Oh, he can use AY. Yeah, there you go. Back to not breaking. And that's it. The Phoenix player couldn't quite crack the stronghold. The positive side though is like he's probably going to be pulling Ningyus every turn from now from whatever he draws. Nearly. I mean there's 3 Ningyus in 10 cards, so and he shuffles every time he plays one. So yeah, it's a decent chance he can find more Ningyus like every turn from now. So watering. So Kunimani States gets bowed. Okay. Oh, a Cloud of Mine is played. I missed that. So Cloud of Mine is played on Adept of... no, not Adept. Prodigy of the Waves. Alright, so I imagine we're going to see a... a air conflict on fertile fields. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Air conflict on fertile fields. If he wins it, he steals 1 and loses 1 for unopposed. And then 1 more is lost when a tsunami leaves play. That might be it. That might be it. I think this might be a Scorpion victory. Zero fate for the Phoenix player. The only thing that can save him now is a let go. He has to have let go to play on Cloud of Mine to re-ready Prodigy of the Waves. No. Okay. There's still a slight chance, like he can let this one go, then let go the Cloud of Mine, go in with Prodigy of the Waves and actually break the stronghold. That would be such a beautiful play. That would be a massively beautiful play. If that's what comes to... Oh. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? Okay. Everything comes down to what can the Phoenix player do here to break the Scorpion player's stronghold? Oh, this could be so beautiful. Oh wow. Oh, does he have enough? Does he have enough military skill to break this rally to the cause? What does he? What could he have? What could he have? That's enough. I don't think. A firing saves him as well. A firing actually saves him from dying this turn. That could be big enough. Yeah, here comes the firing. All right. Uh, is there any pump here that can say that can put him into breaking? How many fans? No, no fans. Court games. Court games and... Oh no. Fate worse than death. There it is. Last card in his hand. Oh, that is it. That is GG. Scorpion player prevails. What could have been... Oh. What could have been? That is... the last card. The last card in the Scorpion player's hand. Of course is Fate worse than death. Perfectly planned by the Scorpion player. Like, the plan just came together beautifully. Oh, that is so rough for the Phoenix player. Would have been so cool to see that happen. Oh well. Very well played from both players, obviously. The Scorpion player showed immense restraint there, just holding back that Fate worse than death for the absolute final moment to put a nail in the coffin of the Phoenix player. And that is the game between France and Greece prevails. Greece wins. I think that's just the first game of this series, so France still has a chance to get back in the series, but Greece is up 1-0 right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.